This business is not sponsored by or affiliated with the United States Department of Veterans Affairs or your state's Department of Military and Veterans Affairs or any other federally chartered veterans service organization. Other organizations, including but not limited to your state's Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, a local veteran service organization, and other federally chartered veteran service organizations provide this service free of charge. You may qualify for other veterans benefit services outside the scope of what this business offers. All disability claims for increased ratings are processed by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. This business cannot expedite the processing of your claim by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon. I guess it depends on where you're at. To is Facebook Live. I'm veteran coach Jen McDonald, and I am hosting today with my good friend, Coach Anthony Brown.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Hola. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for everybody who's checking in with us today. We do want to invite you to use the chat or the comment section to let us know. Oh gosh, sorry about that. To let us know where you're checking in from. If you are a current VA Claims Insider client, give your coach a shout out. Let us know what branch you're serving in, but we invite you to interact and be prepared to ask questions. Today, we are going to be talking about the differences between separation pay and disability pay. Separation or retirement pay. We're going to talk about the difference. Can a veteran receive both? Under what circumstances maybe can they receive both? And we'll be talking about that shortly. We'll give time for more vets to join into our presentation, tell a little bit about ourselves, and talk a little bit about the VA Claims Insider Elite Program. So, Anthony, do you want to introduce yourself, tell a little bit about what brought you to the organization?
Absolutely, Coach Jen. Thank you. I'm Coach Anthony Brown, and 22-year Navy veteran. So I was a hospital corpsman, and I've been all over the world, seen a lot of different things. Been on a ship, played around in the sandbox a little bit over in the Middle East, and then eventually made my way over here to CONUS. But I even stopped by Guam. So for those of you who've ever paid a visit to that rock out there in the middle of the ocean, yeah, I know all about it. So, but I loved what I did. I loved being a caregiver, if you will. And when I came up on retirement, the first question I asked myself was, what am I going to do with myself when I get out? All the conversations I had with junior sailors who wanted to get out, I started going through all those memories, and I started thinking, oh my gosh, I'm kind of like thinking the same way. What am I going to do when I get out? I can't do what I did before. And so being in the caregiver role for 22 years, I said, I want to continue that. I want to continue doing something on those lines. So hit the job market hard, and lo and behold, VA Claims Insider reached out to me and said, "Hey, let's have a talk. Let's have a little chat." And from the first meeting that I had, I knew that I was in my new home, right, with my new family. And what better? I don't even look at it as a job. I really don't. Every time I log in every morning, I'm excited. I can't wait. I love my veterans. No matter how long it might take them to get through the computer process, I love them. So, and I said, what better way to continue on in the civilian sector, than with a job where I've given back. Right now, I'm a fellow veteran, and I'm giving back to my fellow veterans. And there's no other place I'd rather be right now, talking to the folks that I'm talking to day in and day out. So I'm very happy to be here, very excited every day when I log in, and I just love, tuning into these live chats and seeing who's going to come in and ask all these cool questions. And I can't wait to chat with you all. So welcome. And that's my why. So welcome, everyone. And yeah, thank you. And Coach Jen, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I love to hear you say that, there's nothing else that you'd rather do. And I have worked with veterans professionally on the healthcare side, advocating for benefits, advocating for vets to receive care that they deserved, that they really struggled with. And being here, I've been here for, it's almost 5 years, that I've been with VA Claims Insider. And I have found that it is such an honor and a privilege to be able to talk to the vets that I get to interact with every single day, and to have, to be part of the process and to be part of the outcomes, the life-changing outcomes that so many veterans that I've had the privilege of working with over the years have achieved. Life change, whether it's a 40% rating, whether it's a 70% rating, or it's 100% permanent in total, it is life-changing for my veterans. And I get to be a part of that. I get to witness it. I get to encourage and empower the veterans through the process. And it's entirely my privilege to get to do this. And that it's my job, and that this is what I've done, day in and day out for 5 years, blows my mind. It just has gone so fast, and I enjoy the opportunity to do it here with so many veterans. I myself did not serve in the military. My dad, my husband, and 2 of my sons are Marine Corps. Sorry, I have one that's active duty. One son that's active duty, one who served in Afghanistan, Iraq, and from 2011 to 2015, he was in 0331. My husband served in the first Gulf War, and my dad served the Vietnam era. I didn't go to Vietnam. My father-in-law and my stepfather are Vietnam bound in Vietnam. My whole family legacy is military, and they're all veterans. And this is just kind of my mindset as a kid. So being able to be here and do my part to pay back the commitment that our nation's veterans made, it's truly so fulfilling. I do want to talk a little bit about our program. We're going to get started and jump into our topic, and hopefully we'll get to a lot of questions. And our question and answer is going to be no holds barred. Able to ask questions, not necessarily about our topic, but questions related to the VA claims process or joining the elite program that we can help you out with. Want to talk about our program, the elite program, and the mission, and a little bit about how it works. So veterans who are new to VA Claims Insider will be assigned to a veteran coach. You can start out with a discovery call, or you can request just through our direct links to be connected with Coach Anthony or I to get started. A discovery call with our veteran ambassadors, or I guess they're calling it our care team now. We're going through some exciting changes here with regard to how we're able to serve vets. So there's a lot to come, and it's super exciting to be able to potentially provide more support to vets and their families going forward. Signing up for a discovery call will help for you to determine whether or not the elite program is right for you. Do you need a coach? What type of medical evidence do you need? It's really going to help you to kind of determine that you're in the right place. Once you're assigned to a coach, you're going to have a strategy session. That strategy session is going to go through essentially what's your potential, what's your trajectory, and where do you start? And that's always often a first question for vets coming into the program. Where do I start? I don't know where to start. Or I filed several claims and I've had a lot of denials. What am I doing wrong? What do I need to find success? Being open to strategy and perspective is the key right there. Understanding that medical evidence, whether it's old, new, nexus letters, DBQs, medical evidence is the key. It's going to unlock, Caleb used to call it our golden ticket. Nexus letters are your golden ticket. So be open to understanding the medical evidence and how it's going to benefit you. Going to share education on claim submission, education on CMP, understanding what to be prepared for when it comes to your CMP. What do you need to know? What do you need to talk about? What do you need to represent that's relevant to the claim and going to help to support the favorable outcome? Anthony, you want to talk a little bit about our classes and our resources?
Absolutely. So when you sign on to VA Claims and Insider and become an elite member, you'll have access to live classes via Microsoft Teams. Okay. Each month we have up to 3 live classes. So, you're all in one right now. We offer various topics each time, different topics each time. So it's a very informative class. It's worth everyone's time, worth everyone's while to jump in and observe, take notes, ask questions at the end. So I always tell my folks who are signed up with me, definitely take advantage of the resources that are offered to you with this program. And the live classes are just fantastic, especially those compensation and pension exam classes. Even though the material might be the same, the Q&A session offers something unique each time. We also do coffee with the coaches, so it's a very down to earth
casual
setting. Very casual. Gives everyone a chance to click and kind of come together. I mean, there's friendships that form during those sessions, and it makes it very special. So when we were in the military serving, there's that term unit cohesion. Coming together as one. It kind of feels like that when you're in those coffee with the coach sessions. So no particular topic, we just kind of get together and talk and have a chat and drink coffee too. So if you like coffee, bring it in there. But yeah, and then like I said, we do offer the mental health and the medical exam for education classes for the CMP exams. Because going through the claim building and submission process, the CMP exam is the most important day of that process. So we want to make sure that everyone is well informed and they're heading off in the right direction when they go to those exams.
So the key, I heard you say several times, education, and that is absolutely what we're here for. As coaches, we're here to ensure that you have access to the education, the information that you need that's going to empower you to develop a strategy, develop your claims, and again, be prepared for those CMP exams. And that education, I like to say, and vets who know me have probably heard me say it, we're like personal trainers for VA disability. You're coming to us and clarifying what your goal is, but not exactly sure how to get there. So our expertise and our background is to help you with identifying what is the best strategy, being open to strategy and perspective versus really focusing on specific issues or conditions can really unlock so much value for you. Also want to clarify at the beginning of the live, it shares that disclaimer. We are not accredited agents. We're not VSOs. We're not affiliated with the VA. We won't submit claims for our veterans. We won't be preparing documentation for you, but we will be providing education so that you feel empowered to be able to complete these steps. With a coach, you are entirely in the driver's seat. Okay, I want to go ahead and jump into our topics so we can get to our Q&As. We wanted to scroll back and give a shout out to Mark Kendall, Navy Desert Storm veteran who recently achieved 100% PNT 2 weeks ago, and mainly by using VACI as an educational resource. So congratulations on that, Mark.
Awesome, Mark.
Okay, so what's the difference between DoD versus VA disability, separation pay and DoD? Military separation pay. So if the military paid you to leave, separated under certain conditions, typically they pay out a lump sum payment one time upon separation. I've seen vets who have received $50,000 separation. I've seen $13,000 separation pay. It's considered an advance against future VA disability compensation. So if you received separation pay from the military and you're later going to develop for VA claims, the DoD is going to expect you to pay back that separation. Okay, they're going to ask you to throw that 14 grand, or even sometimes, like I said, I've seen up to 50 grand, pay that back before you start getting that monthly compensation. Now they're going to just absorb that monthly compensation into the payback. And then once the debt is paid back, then you'll start receiving your VA disability benefits. Obviously, the higher the rating that you've achieved, the faster that payback will come. And a lot of vets have already been prepared. They understand that, but we do have vets who come in who have received separation pay that aren't prepared for that payback step. And they don't understand why they're not getting compensation right away. And again, that's just something that is very clear. It's cut and dry. And a lot of vets are not told this when they're getting that separation benefit. They're not told that someday there may be a red flag if you're going after your disability. Or I've had vets who have been informed that because they received separation pay, they weren't eligible for disability benefits. And that is not the case. Again, in most cases, you're going to have to pay that separation pay back out of your benefits, and then you'll start getting those deposits and that compensation, and you just keep working towards the potential and the value that you truly deserve. Do you have anything to add, Anthony, on that?
Yes, I mean, just to kind of go back to the DoD side of the disability compensation, what that really means. So, you have your DoD versus the VA, and DoD is basically conditions that you sustain during service that are going to have an impact to the mission. All right. For me, for example, I was retired. I was medically retired because I was past 20 years, but it was for my back. And so I was rated at 10% for DoD. Now, at that time, I didn't realize the difference between the DoD and the VA rating. So I was thinking I got 10% total for everything. But no, they're two separate, the VA rating and the DoD rating are two separate ratings. The VA rating is for conditions that are most likely going to impact you for the rest of your life, right? That's your quality of life. And there's an enormous amount of different conditions that you can go through for that. But like I said, the DoD, difference is there are conditions that are expected to impact the mission. And so usually it leads to a med board or a physical evaluation board while you're in the military. And then eventually to either a military or a medical retirement or a separation. So in my case, it didn't stop at the 10% because once I found out that, oh man, I got other chances to get a higher rating with the VA, I started looking into those other conditions and, landed myself on 100% P&T. So, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was, familiar with the difference between what conditions fall, under, each condition or each category, DoD versus VA. And so that you're not getting confused with those two.
One of the key differences between the separation pay and the VA disability is that, again, the separation pay is a lump sum, and the monthly compensation for your VA disability can be for life as long as the eligibility is maintained. So you're going to continue to get those payments potentially for the rest of your life, especially if you achieve a rating for a condition that is static or that permanent in total. Different circumstances, TDIU can be permanent as well, but that's going to continue, and that separation pay is just one lump sum. The interaction, the VA is going to recoup that separation pay before paying the full disability benefits to you. And I guess the key takeaway, receiving separation pay doesn't block you from VA disability. It just means that they're going to recoup that before you get your benefits. And again, the lump sum versus the payback, you're going to continue to get your benefits once they kick in and you've gotten that separation pay paid back. Then you get that as long as you maintain your disability eligibility. And we'll take some questions about that in a few minutes. Let's see. We were looking at medical separation or retirement. Medical separation or retirement versus or compared to VA disability. Medical separation or retirement is run by the DoD as well. Determines if you are fit for duty. It pays either. So this one has a couple of options. This one pays either a one-time severance payment, or you're going to receive a monthly retirement check if you're medically retired. It's calculated based on your condition and how much that affects your ability to continue military service. And it uses the DoD rating percentage. Okay. Severance pay is usually taxed. Military retirement, I'm not 1,000% sure. Military retirement can be taxed. VA disability is not taxed. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Do you want to, okay, I went over the DoD and how that pays out. Do you want to go over the VA?
Yep, and we got the VA disability compensation. So that's run by the Department of Veteran Affairs. Okay, so don't get the DoD and the Department of Veteran Affairs mixed up. So, and the VA disability compensation, I mean, it exists to compensate for service-connected medical conditions after you left the military. It's very important to keep that in mind. I know as young people, as we leave the military, we're not thinking about that stuff, right? Until we get older and some of those old war wounds start to creep back up on us. But usually when we sustain medical conditions through service, those tend to deteriorate through time. So the VA, I almost said DoD, but the VA is looking to compensate, for the deterioration of quality of life as a result of those service-connected conditions that we sustain. And so it's tax-free, right? The VA benefits are tax-free, and they're paid out monthly. All right. And how it's calculated. So, you always hear about that funny math, that the VA has. They have that, crazy formula that they put out there. But the VA rating system, it assigns percentages 0% to 100%. Okay. So even if you're at 0%, you can still be service connected for a condition. For conditions based on, like I said, their impact on daily life. So there's multiple ratings that can be combined. So, when you link up with the coach will definitely go over your current ratings if you have ratings. All right. And tell you, because there's two different scores. There's an overall disability rating, and then which is combined, right? And then there's the raw score, which is what the VA uses to do their fantastic math with. So those two numbers can be different. A lot of times they are different, but definitely when you get your coach will be able to go over all of that with you and explain, the difference of the two, and actually do the calculations with you. Okay, so Coach Jen, can you hit up on some of the key differences?
Yes. So some of the key differences, obviously, for the DoD fitness for duty, the DoD separation or retirement is based on your fitness for duty, your ability to do the job, to be able to PT, to be able to meet the standards of the job. VA is long-term compensation for service-connected conditions. So injuries, illnesses, mental health conditions, anything that you're service connected for, again, is monthly compensation. It's a benefit that continues. I don't want veterans who may have that potential to have to repay a separation to not consider chasing their VA benefits, because a lot of times you're going to, the benefit is going to outweigh and outpay, and that more than that one-time payment, even if, a $50,000 separation pay, over time, once you are achieving your rating and you're accurately rated for everything that could be compensated for, the healthcare benefits, the substantial veteran benefits that accumulate as the rating goes up, and then the compensation over time, in most cases, will outweigh what that lump sum payment was. So I don't want veterans to decide not to because they may have to pay that separation pay back. Just understand going into the process that once you get that paid back, that's when the true benefit is going to really, really kick in. And the benefits are worth the fight. The benefits are worth the fight, the peace of mind, the healthcare benefits. So we don't want this to be a cautionary tale. We want this to really be an expectation setting educational opportunity, so vets know what they're getting into going into the process, and not expecting once I'm service connected, I start getting checks. Maybe not. but they will come once that payback is complete. Anything else on that one, Anthony?
No, I think we hit everything that looks like it's relevant. So
I think one thing to add too is for the military, for the concurrent receipt. Concurrent receipt, when veterans are retired, that concurrent receipt, you're getting your retirement pay. Once a veteran achieves a 50% rating on their VA disability, then they will receive both. Up until that, the retirement pay will offset. You won't get both retirement and VA disability until you're over that 50% mark. And then it can take a minute. I've seen vets, as much as 6 months waiting for their payments to catch up after they've hit that 50% mark or beyond. So be patient, because DFAS and the VA need to communicate. But again, for retirees, after that 50% mark, you'll be able to receive both the retirement pay and the disability payments.
And you also have the combat related special compensation. So, can you collect DoD disability versus VA disability at the same time? Generally, yes, you can, but no, unless you qualify for the combat related special compensation pay. So, which is, kind of on the same line. It's on a similar line as that concurrent retirement disability pay. So, but that is pretty much it.
Yeah. I think it can be muddy. It can be very muddy. Every veteran situation can be very different. So again, just for expectation setting, trying to get it out there. So, vets that are considering tracing their VA disability benefits that have separation pay or are medically retired or retired from the military, understanding kind of what the beginning process is going to look like, what the beginning compensation is going to look like, but not to deter you from getting into the fight for what you deserve. The long-term benefit is absolutely worth it. Okay, well, I think let's go ahead and start taking some questions. We've got a great one from, I don't even want to try that. Thade 87.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Thade was medically discharged with 0%, with $27,000 in severance pay in the VA after 3 payments. So far, he have not recouped. Am I missing something? He meant to specify in a further message. The VA rated me at a combined rating of 80%, and so far they have not recouped the severance pay. So here's the key to that DFAS. Once you're over that certain percentage for the VA, DFAS is going to need their time to catch up. And again, that can be several months. So you said 2-3 payments. It could be several more before they start, everything is jiving and the numbers are right. So I've referred a lot of vets to touch base with DFAS or to communicate with the VA and to see, as they're jiving those numbers and getting the accounting right, what the timeline looks like. And often they can't tell you anything because the VA is waiting on DFAS, DFAS is waiting on VA. So it is a slow process, but in most cases they get it right off the bat. So once it kicks in, it'll kick in accurately. And if there's any catch up that needs to be made, they'll do that as well.
Yeah, it also looks like.
So I hope that answered.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, it also looks like they asked, and so did Fred, about the government shutdown and impacts that could potentially have on the VA claims process. And I mean, as it stands right now, there is no impact to the VA claims processing, appeals, or VA disability compensation payments. So
I'm sorry.
No, just says, I was going to say, rest assured, business as usual. Focus on your claim situation. Focus on your game plan, the strategy for that game plan. Focus on all the things you need to focus on to be successful with your claim building and submission process. All right. The government's going to do what they do. And I can't tell you how many times in my lifetime I heard about government shutdowns. And I'm, not that I'm taking it lightly, by no means whatsoever. But it does have a tendency to throw people's attention elsewhere. But recenter, refocus, bring that attention back over here on what's most important to you, and for a lot of you and a lot of us out there, our families, and stay focused on the tasks at hand. VA claims, your claim building, and then ultimately submitting that claim.
Don't let anything distract you. I actually have a resource in front of me that we shared on the VA Claims Insider Facebook page, and I think the Instagram. So services to veterans that are not impacted. And one thing that, I lived it. When my husband was a VA Raider, the government shut down, and he was considered to be essential. And he not only worked, but he worked extra hours during the shutdown to make sure that the claims kept going and the payments were coming. So the claims are going to continue to be worked. VA medical centers, outpatient clinics, and vet centers will be open as usual, providing all services. VA benefits will continue to be processed and delivered, including compensation, pension, education, and housing benefits. Burials will continue at VA national cemeteries. Applications for headstones, markers, and burial benefits processing will continue. The Board of Veterans Appeals will continue decisions on veteran cases. Call centers, the 800 MyVA 411 and the crisis line 988 will remain open 24/7. Suicide prevention programs, homelessness services, and caregiver support will continue. The services that are impacting, the VA will cease providing transition program assistance and career counseling. GI Bill's call center for GI Bill, National Cemetery Application Assistance, those are going to be closed. VA regional offices will be closed to the public. So again, the Raiders, the VSRs, they'll still be there doing their jobs, but they won't be open to the public. Public affairs and outreach to veterans will cease, including social media, vet resource emails, and responses to press inquiries. No grounds maintenance or placement of permanent headstones at the cemeteries. Applications for pre-need burial services will cease. No outreach to state, county, tribal, municipal, faith-based, and community-based partners by VA central offices. That is it. And again, the MyVA 411 is open. So if you have any questions about any other services, you can call the VA directly. I'm glad we got that information out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's go back to questions. Typically, we're inundated by questions by now. Federal employee, will that interfere with the VA benefits? The VA benefits are a priority, so it doesn't look like that's going to be anything that is going to impact you. I love Mark. He's got some great comments in here. So back to the kind of payback and that offset. He had indicated that, usually a year or less for the payback. So if you're looking at 10 years at 100% P&T, again, that benefit offsets the offset. And it's absolutely worth it to pursue your VA claims and the value that's out there for you. Let's see. Let's get some questions. I'm just looking to see if there's any other questions in here. So we talked about medical evidence, and I specifically kind of keyed in on nexus letters and DBQs, and I just wanted to share a trend that I have noticed recently, and I would say maybe the last 3 months. I have seen more successful ACE exams. And ACE is an acceptable clinical evidence exam. So in most cases, when a veteran files a claim, even if you support with all the evidence that's meant to check the boxes for service connection and accuracy of your rating, the VA typically will still order a C&P exam. Even if they're not asking the veteran to report for it, they're still going to do the DBQ internally with the evidence that you've submitted. So again, an ACE exam, in most cases, the veteran won't need to report, may get a quick phone call. I have seen more successful ACE exams in the last 2 to 3 months with supporting documents, nexus letters, DBQs, IMOs from Telemedica than I have in 5 years of being here. ACE exams are becoming more and more common, and I think that the competence of the Nexus documentation is being recognized. We're seeing that the Nexus letters are getting better and better and more credible and supported by more research. And, Telemedica themselves do a deep dive into a veteran's entire health chart. They're not just looking at, I've looked at this veteran's records for headaches. They're looking at everything. They're looking at your overall health and being able to apply the science directly to the specific veteran. So the Nexus letters are stronger. The research is better. The credibility is more recognized. And we're seeing more and more just, submit your evidence and get your win. I think a couple coaches reported this week, 6 days, 4 days, submitted their claim, got an ACE review, and got a win. So I really want to, education is the first key to success, but that medical evidence and credible, viable, probative medical evidence like Nexus letters and IMOs are really worth their weight in gold. Sometimes the investment can be a little intimidating, but when you consider, I'm so sorry, I thought I had that off. Consider the potential outcome. I'm so sorry. It's not closing. I'm so sorry.
No, so yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with those Nexus letters. When you get the decision letter, the tendency for a lot of veterans is to take that decision letter, especially if it's not a favorable decision, and toss it to the side. And I tell folks, I say, no, those are key, because you got to read through it. Read through that decision right up. You'll find that there's details in there that explains what your next step is. And I see a lot of decision letters because, I get veterans that are like, I don't know what else to do. I had all this evidence. It's all current. I submitted to the VA. They still denied me. Well, if you read through your decision letter, you'll see that there's no link. There's no link to service. So you can have the best migraine evidence in the world and sleep apnea evidence and all that. But if there is no link to service, the VA is not just going to automatically link you. Okay. So there has to be a link. And that's what makes those Nexus letters extremely important and valuable. And you want to make sure you're getting a really good product, right? A Nexus letter is not the same across the board all the time for everyone. Everyone's case is unique. And so you want to make sure that Nexus letter speaks directly to you, right? You and your conditions. And that's why, folks at Telemedica, they take a lot of time to make sure that each Nexus letter is crafted to that individual. And I've seen other examples out there, but Telemedica is by far superior, absolutely. So, and that's not a pitch necessarily for Telemedica, but it's I can't help it. I get emotional about those things because I really take this job seriously, and I really make sure that the veteran is getting what they need for their claim building and ultimately submission process. I want to make sure that we go over everything, and that all their evidence is going to give them the best possible outcome, the strongest claim that they can submit. So, and as far as what was the other, I saw a question in here. So there was a question in there about VA coaches located in all VA buildings. So I just want to reiterate, right? We are not affiliated with the VA in any way, shape, or form. So when we talk about coaches, that is directly involving VA Claims Insider, okay, within our organization here. The VA, they have VSOs, right? And you're not going to get the same service from a VSO that you would get from a veteran coach. Okay. And that's not to discredit the VSOs in any way, shape, or form, because they're very important. We need to have them there. They offer a lot of other resources to us. But when you're talking about a veteran coach, that's someone who's basically going to be there educating you every step of the way through the claim building and then ultimately submission process. And like Coach Jen had mentioned earlier, we're not doing it for you. Right? We can't do it for you. We're not going to do it for you. We shouldn't do it for you. It's yours, right? It's your case. But it's always beneficial to have someone in your corner, and that's where the veteran coach comes in. We are able to invest and devote time to each individual, right, in their personal claim journey, and so that's what makes it different, from a VSO versus a veteran coach here at VA Claims Insider. So not to put us like one-on-one against VSOs. I'm not trying to do that whatsoever. It's just two distinctly different roles in jobs. And so there's things that VSOs cannot do, and there's things that we can't do either. But at the same time, just know that with a veteran coach, you're going to get that one-on-one service. And there's going to be a lot of things that you get that you will not get with a VSO, right? And that's ultimately why veterans tend to come over and check out veteran coach services after they have done time with a VSO. Maybe it wasn't quite what they expected, and they want to see what a veteran coach has to offer. And like I said, we have invested time in each individual veteran that honestly is just I haven't experienced it in my time with VSOs. However, like I said, they do give us resources and things that are very important.
VSOs, VA reps, accredited agents, they have significant value. And I think, overall, everybody's intent is to ensure that the veteran is successful and the veteran understands the process. It's important to keep in mind that there are a small amount of VSOs supporting thousands of veterans for every aspect of the VA benefits. So they're helping out with setting you up with voc rehab, with housing, with resources for lending, with resources for medical providers or for medical residential issues. They're helping out with every aspect of the VA benefits, and they're representing and supporting potentially thousands of vets. And there may be 2 or 3 county reps. There may be, 3 public contact individuals at your regional office. Everybody's kind of behind the scenes at the VA, the raters, the VSRs. They're there. The CMP examiners, some of them are actually at the VA regional offices as well. They're all kind of working behind the scenes. But as far as public contact and support for veterans, VSOs are stretched so thin. I have so many friends here in Iowa that are VSOs and are helping vets with every resource. They're spread so thin. They're under supported. They're overwhelmed, and they're trying to do their very best for every veteran. And when you can team up, here's my paperwork, submit it for me. I developed all of this with my coach. That's always an option. So the more people you can have on your team, the more value that you're going to have, or the more gas you're going to have in the tank. And different perspectives can be helpful, but understanding that strategy is key. And that's the difference, really, the education and the strategy, the game plan, the plan of attack, the tactical approach. That's what comes from your veteran coach. fueling your tenacity, keeping you accountable, checking in on your steps. These are things that, again, those overwhelmed and under-supported VSOs may not be able to do. They may not be able to stay in touch and keep you moving and keep you in the process and be able to be in communication as regularly as a veteran coach. So there's a lot of differences, but I think the ultimate mission is making sure that the veteran is successful, whether you're accredited, whether you're a VA rep, whether you're VFW, or whether you're a veteran coach. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you out there who have yet to venture into the claim and the VA claims process, I mean, look at some of these folks that are reaching out here, some of these comments that we're going through, folks that have been going through this for like 20 years, like Franco here. Franco said, I finally found an organization that's willing to coach me with the process. I've been lost for over 20 years and had given up. I love the educational videos and the outreach to the veterans. Thank you. That, I mean, in a nutshell, is veteran coach services right there. Okay, that you're not going to get with a VSO. I mean, and just think about that. 20 years, Franco. God bless you. Going through that process and sticking with it, right? Because a lot of folks, they get discouraged and they back down from it. And they take those decision letters that were denials and throw them up in a cabinet or put them in a garbage can or maybe crumble them up and throw them in the back seat. But listen to these veterans that have been doing this for a long time and ask yourself, do you want to be doing it for 20 years? Do you want to go through a process like this for 20 years? And most of you will probably say no, right? And so coming here to VA Claims Insider, you've got that coach, right? I can't reiterate I can't reiterate it enough how important it is to have that coach in your corner, providing you with the essential education. Okay, you can find education everywhere on the internet, but the essential education, we kind of here at VA Claims Insider, we go through all the details. We finely tune everything and bring it together so that it's in a nice package for you all to be able to view, and it's easily, you can easily follow it. You can follow along. It's self-explanatory. We have a lot of instructional videos and tutorials that we have to offer within this program, so that you're not just out there Googling on your own, listening to your friends and what worked for them, and going through trial and error and marking things off that didn't work and what works. That takes time. Getting with a coach. We're going to look at your case. Like I said earlier, every case is unique to each individual, and we're going to as a coach, we're going to come up and formulate a game plan with you. And then that strategy is going to be all based off of you. Okay. And no one else. So, just, keep that in mind. We got a lot of stuff to offer folks here at VA Claims Insider, and just really ask yourself, do you want to be the next veteran that's spending the next 20 years going for a claim, and hopefully you can win it in 20 years? Or do you want to get it a little bit quicker than that? And most of you will say you want to get it faster, right? And you're in the right place for that. Okay.
I am looking at Randy Vassar's question. I've been 100% for over 10 years. I remarried in 2021. If I die, can my wife claim what they call DIC? I do have a resource that our team behind the scenes is going to so graciously throw in the chat for us with regard to the dependency and indemnity compensation. So DIC, we call it survivor benefits. And if you were to pass, if you're 100% permanent and total service connected, completely connected, then your wife would be eligible for the DIC or the survivor benefits. Typically, I'm just looking through the resource that I wanted to have shared with you. So the definition within the resource, what we call DIC, is a tax-free monthly benefit paid by the VA to certain surviving family members of a service member or veteran. If your loved one died in the line of duty or later from a service-connected illness or injury, DIC is the VA's way of recognizing that sacrifice. It's an earned benefit, a financial lifeline meant to help surviving spouses, children, and in some cases, parents after the loss of someone who served our country. Surviving spouses. If you married the veteran within 15 years of discharge from the period of service, or you were married to the veteran for at least 1 year, or you had a child with the veteran. Remarriage exceptions, you can receive or continue to receive DIC if you, the dependent or the surviving spouse, remarried on or after December 16th, 2003 at age 57 plus, or on or after January 5th, 2021 at age 55 plus. Double check all of the criteria, evidence, tips for spouse claims. That resource looks like they threw it in the chat for us. So that is going to be helpful information for you to help decipher that.
That's awesome. And looks like Mad Max here. He said something about, you said something about ACE. I literally just got off of a PNC exam, and it was only 35 minutes long because she said that she had a lot of what she needed from my personal statement. Everyone told me about the length and amount of questions that I would be asked, to include talking about the MST, and I wasn't asked about it. Was told the letter outlined and wasn't asked a lot of questions. So with that, Mad Max, if you are signed up with us here at VA Claims Insider, that is definitely something you want to go back to your coach and discuss in detail about, the various aspects of that conversation during the compensation and pension exam, because you want to keep everything checked and balanced, right? You want to make sure that the examiners are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and a lot of that can be discussed with you, by a coach, by a veteran coach. And so, 35 minutes, that is, that's not a lot of time, especially when you're looking at an MST case. I do agree. And however, there are conditions out there where CMP examiners, if you have a great deal of evidence, they will look at that, and maybe they'll take all of that into consideration, and that could potentially make your CMP exam a little bit shorter than what you expected. But definitely, for mental health cases, you want to make sure that it's all about your story, right? So you want to make sure that you're getting every detail that you can possibly that's going to be beneficial, for your case out there to that examiner, and let them hear it. And so, like I said, if you are working with a veteran coach, you definitely want to take that concern back to your veteran coach, talk to the veteran coach about it, and see what they say, because there may be some additional steps that you'd want to take next.
Right on. Absolutely. And I think, as far as being prepared for a mental health evaluation, it's hard to know what to expect. Some examiners try to be efficient and try to get ahead by reviewing your documentation that's going to help to support their opinion and their completion of their DBQ. So it's really hard to know how to prepare. I'd say on average, my vets have reported that mental health CMPs typically are 30 to 45 minutes long. Most of my vets who have done a telemedica evaluation and then went into a CMP have reported that the telemedica evaluation is extensively more thorough than the CMP exam. And that can be because, again, the provider who's providing the service, the CMP exam, has gone in and maybe they only need to fill in a few blanks. It's really hard to tell. Did I get a good CMP exam? I didn't really get an opportunity to talk about my stressor. I didn't really get an opportunity to talk about this or that. A lot of times I say, in your gut, how did they seem like they felt like they were confidently educated on your case when they were talking to you, or did they really just feel like they were trying to rush you through? And if you feel like you didn't get the opportunity that you really feel like you deserve, and you do deserve a thorough evaluation, you can report to the VA that you have concerns. You have concerns about the quality of your opportunity to demonstrate, discuss, articulate, support the symptoms and impairments that you deal with. So again, if you feel in your gut like it just wasn't a quality opportunity, report to the VA and see. Sometimes, in a lot of cases, they'll reschedule and get you another one. I know that sounds daunting, and it is, but every chance that you get to tell your story and to support your claim truly is an opportunity. So the worst thing that could happen is not getting a new CMP exam.
Absolutely.
Growth talk with COFA. The average time it takes to process an eligibility determination claim. Completed active duty order, need to have my benefits restarted. So I just did a quick resource check, and it looks to me like the estimated time for restart or eligibility determination cases straightforward. Your records are on file. Minimal medical evidence is needed. It looks like 2 to 4 months. If it's somewhat complex, you're missing some records, need the VA to fill in some blanks with regard to documentation, they're saying 4 to 6 months. So hopefully that helps you out with the time frame and what to expect while you're jumping into this.
Yeah, and just kind of follow up with Mad Max too. He said that during the CMP exam, the examiner seemed very by the book and didn't want to stray from the questions. Actually told me that this wasn't a therapy session. She's 100% dead on. I mean, it's not. You definitely don't want to go into a CMP exam and expect follow-on care. They're there for a specific reason, just like you're there for a specific reason. And they're going to go down the checklist of questions to ask you, and then you'll be on your way, and then they're going to see the next veteran. So that's why it's very important for you all to be to be ready for that exam and to get all your ducks in a row before you go into that exam, and make sure that you're elaborating on key details that you need to present to that individual, because you most likely will never see that person again after you leave that office. So absolutely. Mad Max, I can't really tell you if by the book is good or not in your case. It's just like Coach Jen said, you have a gut instinct, that gut feeling when you go in there, where you get in the warm and fuzzies about the individual, and some people may be more emotionally involved with the questioning than others. It's just it's a style. There's all different flavors out there with all different providers, whether they're medical or mental health. So I don't think it's fair. And that's kind of, I did 22 years in the Navy, and I worked with all different types of medical providers and mental health providers. So I have run into all different personality types out there, and there is no one size fits all. So, like Coach Jen said, just go with your gut instinct on this one,
I think as we're wrapping up, a lot of this can be a one-on-one conversation, throwing out questions in the chat. We want to make sure that veterans understand what the value of our program is. And so we want to be here making sure that vets are educated and understand strategy, perspective, medical evidence, what are the keys to success, and working with a veteran coach, and the value of having a veteran coach that is dialed into your individual needs, what you truly deserve, and how best to really develop that for the best chance of success. Strategically, our key term is path of least resistance to the highest value claim. We're not just looking at those little 10%, let's get a knee in there for 10%. Let's get hypertension for 0%, focusing on high value issues that are going to help you to build your percentage, making sure that you're using the benefits that you achieve to take care of everything that in your heart has a high likelihood of actually being connected to service, but may not be able to be proven. Fight for the conditions that can be won, fight for the value that is significant, and make sure that you're strategic. Again, a tactical approach and looking at your overall health is a key factor. And that's what a coach is going to help you to do, to figure out what's the strategy and what's the actual potential. And then how do you get there? What kind of medical evidence do I need, and where do I get it? Hey, I've got a CMP coming up. What do I need to know? What do they need to know from me? what's the best way for me to make sure I'm hitting every target in that CMP exam? That's what I do. That's what Coach Anthony does. That's what our team does. Empowering. We're empowering you so that you can achieve success and know how to stay tenacious, know how to stay in the gas. What comes next? I did everything. I got a denial, but what do I do now? Stay in the gas, continue with it, stay accountable, and stay tenacious.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you want to take us out, I just had to say my piece and we can wrap up for today.
All right, so we are 1 minute past the top of the hour, and thank you all for joining us today. Remember, if you have any questions whatsoever that were not answered during this call, there is a wrap-up session afterwards, so stick around. If you want to learn more, schedule a discovery call and talk to one of our team members by going to go.vaclaimsinsider.com. And also check out Brian's new book, VA Claims Secret. It is now available. Order yours now on Amazon today. Thank you all for tuning in. Coach Anthony here. Thanks, Coach Jen. You all have a fantastic day.
Thank you all.